Happy Valley pros and cons. I'm going to give you 6 pros and 5 cons. And for somebody who grew up around this area, who lives around this area, I know this area very well, I'm going to give you pros and cons from the perspective of somebody who's coming from outside of the area. Somebody who's maybe thinking about moving to the area, probably from outside of the state, somebody that's looking at the Portland metro area and looking at a bunch of different suburbs that they aren't very familiar with. So I'm going to give you that list kind of from that perspective, which is going to be a little bit different than the perspective of somebody who actually lives here. If that's you, if you're thinking about moving to Portland and want to hear the pros and cons of Happy Valley, stick around. All that starts now. Hey everyone, Seth Marchant with the Home Team Brokers here. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new to this channel living in Oregon and you'd like to know more about what it's like to live in Oregon, make sure and hit the subscribe button and tap the bell. That way you'll be notified every time we drop a new video, which is every week. And if you're somebody that's thinking about moving here, as realtors, as much as we like to make these videos, we'd love to help you move here. So you can call us, text us, email us, or click the link below in the description to schedule a Zoom. You can find all of our contact information below in the description. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons here. And let's start with the cons first. I'm more of a positive type of person, so let's get the negative stuff out of the way. Cons first, 5 cons. All right, first one. And remember, this is going to be more from the perspective of somebody who's thinking about moving to this area. Again, probably coming from out of the area that isn't really familiar with this area. So people that call us about moving to Portland that don't know the area too well, you know, people are often moving here due to jobs, probably one of the top reasons that people are moving here, and people usually want to stay near Portland, or there's a lot of jobs that draw people in over from the west side, like in Beaverton. So my first con is going to be location. Happy Valley is pretty far east compared to a lot of other popular suburbs throughout the Portland metropolitan area. At best, it's about 25 minutes to get downtown, and if you are somewhere over on the west side, like at Beaverton, it's about a good solid 45 minutes to get over to Beaverton, and could be well beyond 45 minutes depending on how far east you are in Happy Valley, which for a lot of people, 30 to 45 minutes is really the cutoff for their desired commute. If you compare other suburbs in northwest Clackamas County, Milwaukee, Lake Oswego, West Linn, Oregon City, even Canby, you can get to Beaverton in under 30 minutes. So I think for a lot of people that are thinking about moving to the Portland metro area, Happy Valley doesn't quite make the list because it might just be a little bit too far east. Now, again, this is from the perspective of somebody moving here. The people that live here, I'm sure, are fine with the location. If you do happen to be a mountain person, snowboarding, skiing, stuff like that, being east is nice if you do visit the mountain frequently, because you are pretty close to Mount Hood. You've got maybe an hour less commute than those people living over on the west side, like in a Beaverton. So for that reason, I put location as one of the cons for people that are thinking about moving to the Portland metropolitan area, maybe considering Happy Valley. It's just not quite as centrally located as a lot of the other suburbs are. All right, next on the list is going to be cost. It is not inexpensive to live here in Happy Valley. Average home values in Portland proper, Portland metro area, is about $550, somewhere around there. Happy Valley is going to be closer to $750, maybe even peaking up and closer to the 800, $760, $770, something like that. Reason being, you've got a lot of new homes here, a lot of large homes, a lot of 4 and 5 bedroom homes here. So newer, larger homes are propping up, keeping the average home value in Happy Valley very high. Next on the list, no downtown. A lot of the popular suburbs throughout the Portland metropolitan area, whether it's a Beaverton or a West Linn or a Lake Oswego, they all have downtowns, and downtowns are great to kind of have like a central point where people sort of congregate. And for events, you know, a lot of the farmers markets in these suburbs are typically downtown. A lot of other events, music, stuff like that take place downtown. So Happy Valley being kind of just a new development area, which is, it's mostly just strip malls and suburbs, doesn't have a downtown. I've heard there's talks of developing one. I don't really know how or where they would put that, but as it stands right now, no real kind of centrally located, no downtown, no old town, no town center type of area for Happy Valley. Number 4 on our list is going to be congestion. It does get pretty congested here, especially where 205 meets Sunnyside, which is probably where a lot of people that are like commuting from work, that's the exit that they're taking, the Sunnyside exit off of I-205. That's also right where Clackamas Town Center is. Clackamas Promenade is across the street from that, and there's a Costco behind that. And Multnomah County has their mall, which is Pioneer Place downtown. They used to have the Lloyd Center, but that has since passed. No more Lloyd Center. Washington County has Washington Square, and then Clackamas County has the Clackamas Town Center. So the Clackamas Town Center is kind of the biggest mall in the area, and so draws people in from a lot of other towns. You know, draws people in from Milwaukee, Lake Oswego, Tualatin, Wilsonville, Oregon City. So that part of Happy Valley, which technically is Clackamas, so you're on the very western part of Happy Valley, that area does get very, very congested. And because there's only one street that most people that live in Happy Valley are taking to get there, which is Sunnyside, again, that exit right off of 205, that area does tend to get pretty congested. So if you're pretty far east, up Sunnyside, up Happy Valley, you might deal with a lot of traffic just to get to the exit, and then a fair amount of traffic going up Sunnyside. So congestion is kind of one of the downsides here. This is one of the most popular and one of the fastest growing parts of the Portland metropolitan area in the last few decades. So because it is so popular, because it's grown so quickly, consequently, it has become very congested over in this area. Now, last thing on our list of cons, and I mentioned this is kind of a weak one, this is a little bit more anecdotal. This is a little bit more just things that I've read, which is that I've heard people say it's not super bike friendly. I have a bike, I ride my bike. It's not my primary form of transportation, so I can't really speak specifically to this. And I wonder a little bit if maybe some of these, people that are saying that it's not super bike friendly, maybe they're contrasting that with Portland, which is one of the most bike, downtown Portland proper, which is one of the most bike friendly cities in the country. And maybe comparing Portland with Happy Valley, maybe it doesn't feel super bike friendly. I'm not real sure, but I have heard people say, and I do see people online saying that it's not super bike friendly. So might be a weak one again, but wasn't super easy to come up with a bunch of cons for Happy Valley because it's such a great place. So that's number 5 for our list. All right, let's move on to the pros now. First pro, low crime. Obviously, that's going to be something that's important to a lot of people, especially people moving to Portland. With Portland being in the news as much as it has been in the last few years, and some of the things that you see on the news, some of the questions that we get from people like you, sometimes people wonder how crime is in Portland. And so that's a very common topic. That's a very common question to ask about. What areas do I want to avoid? Where's the crime really bad? And you can look up all the statistics online. We really aren't supposed to speak specifically to specific people about specific areas and crime and things like that. It's more broad and more general, and you can always look stuff up online. But Happy Valley does rank as one of the lowest crime areas in the Portland metropolitan area. It's got a really tight sense of community. I think people really care about this area that live here. Aside from the shopping, once you go west of the shopping, which is, like I said, technically a lot of that shopping, like Clackamas Town Center is in Clackamas, and Happy Valley is west of that, just up Sunnyside. Once you start heading that direction, there's not much else out that direction. So you don't tend to get a ton of through traffic. Not a lot of people traveling through here. Not a lot of reason to come here unless you live here. It's not really on the way to anything for a lot of people. So for that reason, Happy Valley does tend to be a very, very low crime area. And next on the list, number 2, I've kind of mentioned this already, but the shopping. The shopping here is probably about as good as anything else, roughly in the vicinity, because you have Clackamas Town Center, the Clackamas Promenade, Costco. But aside from all of that, going up Sunnyside, because you have all this new development, all this new commercial space, you have all these new strip malls, you've got a lot of new businesses, a lot of new small businesses, a lot of new restaurants. So the shopping in Happy Valley is really good. Most of the people that live in Happy Valley are not traveling outside of Happy Valley for most of their shopping, like maybe some of the other surrounding suburbs. The shopping here is probably about as good as anywhere else in the Portland metropolitan area. Number 3 on our list of pros is lots of things to do, lots of amenities here, tons of parks with trails, just like the one I'm walking on right now, which is right behind their newest high school, Adrian C. Nelson High School. A lot of these parks have paths that connect, so you can go for miles and miles with basketball courts and skate parks and events that take place in these parks, music in the park, movies in the park, There's people that actually even throw block parties here, even though block parties are really not that big in Portland in general. But you do see it a little bit around Happy Valley. So with the good shopping, the good amenities, good parks, and a good city that does a good job of putting on events for the people, you really have a lot of things to do in Happy Valley, and you might not find yourself, sort of like the shopping, venturing too far out of town to find things to do. All right, number 4 on our list, and let's see if I can make it through this video without perspiring too bad. It is a hot one here today in Portland. We're gonna hit low 90s today. We've been low 90s for a couple of weeks. Looks like we'll be low 90s and maybe hit 100 a few times here in the next few weeks. So never been to Portland before. It does get pretty hot for a few months out of the summer. So number 4 on our list is going to be schools. Having good schools usually is going to benefit most people. When you have good schools, that makes the area more desirable for other people to move into and want to live there, which keeps home values high. And when you have a good school system, usually you have the cycle of people moving in for the schools for their kids. Once the kids graduate and move out of the school system, then the parents maybe move back to wherever they came from. So in the places that have good schools, there's a steady cycle of people moving in and out, and Happy Valley is definitely one of those places. They've got 2 high schools, Clackamas High School and Adrian C. Nelson High School. Clackamas High School was actually built about 20 years ago. So by most measures, 20 years is going to be a new school. In this case, Adrian C. Nelson Schools finished a year ago, so that's the new school. So Clackamas is the old school now, and there's a lot of schools, as you might imagine, around the Portland metro area that are 100 years old, you know, so having the old school be 20 years old is pretty nice. So you basically got 2 brand new high schools, and the rest of the schools here are very highly rated as well too. So great schools typically makes for a better community for everyone. Now number 5 on our list is going to be jobs. So I put jobs on here because although Happy Valley is more of a bedroom community, meaning people that live here are mostly working outside of the area, at least for the most part, the average salary for people that are working in this area is above average at $52,000. We have Kaiser Permanente here and a whole lot of other great jobs here. So the jobs here for people that are actually working here are paying above average. All right, and then finally number 6 on our list is going to be housing. Put housing on the list as a pro. It's been such a pain point for so many buyers over the past couple of years. Obviously having lower inventory creates a more competitive market, so it makes it tougher for buyers to win offers, and tougher for buyers to get offers closer to that list price. And in Happy Valley, as I mentioned, this has been one of the more popular spots in the Portland metro area for the last couple of decades. So there's been a ton of building out here, and there's going to be a lot of building going forward. So if you're watching this video 6 months, a year, even 2 years down the road, you can be pretty confident that there will still be some pretty good inventory in Happy Valley. So if you do want to move here, you should have some options. It shouldn't maybe be as competitive as some other places in the Portland metropolitan area. There are a pretty good selection of homes. Because it's newer, you don't have those really old homes like some of those old areas throughout Portland where you'll find some. So if you want like maybe something like that's early century or mid-century, you know, if you like those types of homes, you won't find those as much here. You do have some mid-century, but a lot of stuff built in the 90s up until now. And there's really a lot of new construction going on right now as we speak. So although it's more expensive, the inventory is pretty good, and we expect the inventory to keep being pretty good in the years to come. All right, I hope that helps you to get a better feel, especially again, if you're somebody that's moving from out of state and you aren't familiar with the area at all, you have no idea what it's like here. This pros and cons list is probably gonna be a little bit different than the people that actually live here. If you're thinking about moving here, you can call, text, or email us. And if this video helped you, give us a thumbs up. It lets us know we're doing a good job. And if you want to see more, make sure and subscribe and hit the bell. Comment below if you have any questions, we'll respond. And if you want to talk to us about moving here, if you have any questions about moving here, you can call, text, email, or click the link below in the description to schedule a Zoom with us. No matter how you get in touch with us, we've got your back when it comes to moving to Oregon. All right, take care, everyone.